Hi guys, and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we're going to be looking at the T-34-85 Rudy. And this was so named because it featured in the Polish TV show called Four Tank Men and a Dog. And when you buy this out in the store, you also get a special crew with it. You get Jankos, who is the commander, I think he was, out of the series, and you get Sharik the dog. And when your sixth sense goes off, he barks instead of the usual warning that you get, I think. Now, I don't have Sharik the dog and Jankos in this because I've not actually bought this tank yet. I've been given it for a test drive by Wargaming, so I've not actually bought this one just yet. And it's available in the store at the minute in a ultimate bundle, I think it is, for just over 6,000 gold. And its listed Tankopedia price is 3,550, so I think that's about average. Its listed price is about average for a tier 6 premium, so that's not bad at all. So you do get some extras with the ultimate bundle like you normally do, such as some boost ops and some premium time. And I think the base bundle, you might get something a little extra in that, so it will be a bit over the 3,550, but I don't have the exact price on me at the minute. I've just been trying to find it on the website and couldn't. So I've just stuck I think I've stuck my Motherland crew in, so I've got quite a few skills on there, but most of them I would say suit this tank. Now, unsurprisingly, it is pretty much a fully upgraded T-34-85, which, well, I'm in a bit of a disadvantage. I've not actually been through the T-34-85 yet. I've been through just about every tank around it, but for somehow and some reason I've managed to miss that one out. But I have got the T-34-88, which does have the bigger engine, which is the main difference between this and the T-34-85, is that gets a 600 horsepower engine fully upgraded. This only has a 500 horsepower engine. The gun, however, which we'll look at now, is the same basically as the top gun that you get on the T-34-85, so 10 rounds a minute. It's an 85mm with 144 pen, 180 damage, 194 on your premium ammo, and 44 and 300 on your HE. The aiming time is slightly better on this at 2.2 seconds instead of 2.3, but the accuracy I think is the same at 0.37. However, there is another little surprise. The hull traverse is better on this at 42 degrees as opposed to, I think it's 38 possibly on the T-34-85. In fact, I'll have a look on this one because it's the same. Yeah, 38. So that is a bit better, and the turret traverse is the same, but you do get 5 meters more view range, which doesn't sound a lot, but it does add up. Obviously, if you put situational awareness on and coated optics like I have, that will make a bit of a difference, because obviously it's adding a percentage on. So that only being 5 more doesn't sound much, but yeah, it will add up. So, yeah, it's not a bad tank. The T-34-85 isn't a bad tank. Is it worth buying a premium version of it? Well, I'm not too sure myself. That's entirely up to you. If you're a fan of the original series, or you really like the T-34-85, and maybe want a premium version of it and couldn't get hold of the T-34-88, then maybe this would be a decent stand-in for you. But other than that, like I say, it is pretty much the same, apart from the engine. I think the turret is more like the stock turret, but it does have the same armour values on it. And like I say, the gun's the same as well. So let's have a look at, let's have a look at its bonuses first before we do anything else. The bonuses on this are 25% silver bonus and a 30% XP bonus. You don't get preferential matchmaking, which is perfectly understandable, seeing as it is essentially a fully upgraded T-34-85, and that doesn't. Oh, supplies, let's have a look. Right, armour piercing rounds 175, APCR, which is your premium, at 3,200, and then 139 for your high explosive. Equipment wise, I've gone for the gun lane drive, the gun rammer, and coated optics. The view range, even though it is higher than the T-34-85, the T-34-85 doesn't have a brilliant view range anyway, so I thought I'd put coated optics on it to try and give myself a bit more of an advantage, and try and get my view range up to sort of compare with a lot of the other tanks this will come up against. The gun rammer for obvious reasons, and the gun lane drive again for obvious reasons, just improves that. Aiming time, skill wise, well, like I say, this is my Motherland crew, and you can't go far wrong with the skills that I've got there. Sixth sense, camouflage. I think that's off-road driving, and in fact I've got to check that now because I've just had a brain fart and completely forgotten what that symbol is. Yeah, off-road driving. To be honest, you could actually still put that on this. It does have really good terrain resistances, which we'll look at in a minute, but I suppose you could put that on there as well, just to improve them. But situational awareness, because the view range and repairs is always useful to have on any tank, to be honest. So let's get into the actual modules. Well, like I said before, it does have 100 less horsepower, so that does affect the power to weight ratio, so it's a bit less at 15.41. I think the T-34-85 is a shade over 17, so that is slightly better. Forward top speed is 54 kilometers an hour, and I have completely forgotten to actually compare that and see if that is the same. Yeah, I thought it would be. 20 in reverse and a 15% chance of fire, and it's quite a large engine, and some of the components do come forwards into the sides of the hull, just underneath the turret there as well. So from the side, you're going to have to try pretty hard not to get your engine damaged if you're going to get penned, actually. The gun itself, we've already covered the aiming time, but you've got an elevation of 22 degrees, which is really good. It's actually higher than most, which are at 20, and gun depression is -7, which again isn't bad at all. You know, sort of Soviet tanks have a bit of a reputation for having bad gun depression, but 7 degrees is definitely quite workable. Terrain resistances are better as well. They are good terrain resistances on this, which do go some way to make up for the smaller power to weight ratio. It doesn't so much affect your acceleration as much, but it means that you can maintain your top speeds over different types of terrain a bit easier than the T-34-85 can. And you've got 0.9, 1 and 1.8, so yeah, they're pretty good altogether. Concealment as well, while we're here, is 0.25 and 0.18, and that's something I've not checked. I will check that against the proper one in a minute. You've got the radio just on the left hand side of the turret, more or less under the commander's hatch at the sort of base of the turret. Ammunition blocks, these do seem to be in the same place, so you've got your big main one down in the body of the hull just below the line of the tracks, and more or less in the centre sort of line running down the turret, and then you've got that one in the back of the turret in the overhang, and a bit of an extra one just on the right hand side, again about in line with the commander's hatch. Crew members, you've got 4. You've got your driver down in the hull, and then you've got your gunner, loader and commander up in the turret with your commander under his commander's cupola where you'd expect him to be. Now, armour wise, same armour profile as the T-34-85, like I mentioned before, so that's 45 on the front, 45 on the sides, 40 on the rear for the hull, and then the turret is 90 on the front, 75 on the sides and 52 on the rear, which is the same, but like I say, I think this is closer to the stock turret on the T-34-85, but it is the same armour profile on both. So 1 to 20, well, that's your engine deck, top of your turret, top of your commander's hatch. Some small strips just either side of your gun mounting there, I won't really call it a gun mantle, and the actual hull floor as well, just another brain fart. But yeah, your tracks fall into that as well, and don't forget they do act as spaced armour. 21 to 30, I think that's just your gun is classed as that, yep. 31 to 50, well, it's quite a wide bracket, but most of the hull, in fact, yeah, all of the hull falls into that bracket. You do have a bit of an angling on your upper sides. You have very good angling on your upper glacis, which does make that 45 degrees really sort of quite effective. And you've got a decent slope on your lower glacis as well as on the rear of the tank. You know, it is really well sloped all over. And I've had some lucky bounces off the back of this thing, mostly from lower tiers, but yeah, it's still there. No real particular weak spots on the front as such. I'd say probably one of the easier places to get through is possibly that machine gun port, just because it's a bit flatter than the rest of the hull, and that's if you are struggling to get through there. And if you're going to go for the side of it and the angles are giving you a bit of trouble, either go through the tracks or just try and get through that small strip just below the angled upper side and the track top. 51 to 70 is just the rear of the turret, and then 71 to 90 is your commander's cupola, which is actually, well, comparatively thick, and although we don't have an exact figure, you know, it's in the regions of the rest of the turret armour, and the entire rest of the turret and the front of the gun sort of mounting fall into that category. Now let me just check the concealment on the T-34-85 while I'm here, because I think it's probably going to be the same because there is no camouflage on it. Yeah, it is 0.25 and 0.18, so yeah, exactly the same. But there you go. That's the Rudy. I hope I was actually looking at the right one there. Yeah, because there was a crew in it. And just a horrible feeling I've been looking at the wrong one. So I'm going to shut up talking about it in the garage now, and we'll get into the matches and see how it actually handles. Right, so here we are for the first of the replays. It's on Redshare, and it's a tier 6 match, I think it is. And this is actually my wife playing in this one. She's been sort of looking forward to this one coming out and having a go in it, mostly because of the crew, and then unfortunately, with this being the test drive one, I've not got the crew. However, I don't know, I might pick up the base bundle of this one. I'm really quite undecided. And like I said in the garage, it's not because it's a bad tank, because it isn't. You know, the T-34-85 is, you know, quite a good medium tank. It's quite a good solid one. But it is simply because that is just what it is. You know, it is that. If you get what I'm trying to say. And I think one of the points that I'm probably trying to make and making a hash of it is the fact that if you wanted a T-34-85, then get one out of the tech tree, because it's not going to cost you any real money. The only differences are, like I said before, this has got slightly better terrain resistances. It's got better hull traverse, but it does have 100 less horsepower. The gun is almost identical, apart from a slight decrease in aiming time, and it's by 0.1 of a second. And of course, it does have the bonuses of a premium. But the other side of it is that I've also got the T-34-88, which is a premium sort of variant of a T-34-85. Now that one is more or less, I think it is identical in every way to the T-34-85, apart from the gun. And by that I mean obviously hull traverse, view range, terrain resistances, and all that sort of stuff. So, you know, this one is different, and of course this one does have the special crew with it, so, you know, it does have that. But I think it'd be hard to say, you know, you ought to get this if you've already got a T-34-85, or, well, to be honest, it's, yeah, it is difficult. And it's, like I said, yeah, it is just difficult, because it's not a bad tank, but it's just a T-34-85. With a couple of slight differences, so at least you know what you're going to be getting if you've been through that tank, or you're in that tank at the minute. You know, at least you know what you're going to be getting into with this tank, because, you know, it's the same. I know I've said that a lot now, so I'm going to try not to, but there's not much really that I can say about this tank, and I know that sounds quite dismissive, and I don't really want to be. But like I say, at the end of the day, it's your money. It's up to you whether you want to fork it out for this tank. I'm not so sure myself whether I will. I might pick up the base bundle, almost just for the novelty of the crew. I think possibly, but we'll see. It is coming out in increasingly cheaper packages, you know, which is quite usual with these tanks. So you've got the ultimate one at the minute. There is a loaded and a base bundle. I think it's between now and roughly the end of the month. But it's got a decent rate of fire. Obviously it's a better rate of fire than the T-34-88, but that does have higher damage on it. And that all was just lucky there, going behind that building. Although it's popped out there, side of his turret. And it's, yeah, it's a good rate of fire, it's a good gun. And, yeah, decent little tank. Now he's gone off, but he's still there. Although that one bounced, took it in return, and just pulled back in time to avoid that other hit coming in from the left flank. Now, is that guy tracked? Or is it just, I don't know if that's bouncing or missing. He might have moved slightly, although he's looking a bit worse for wear now. Type 58 up on the hill over there, that's a Chinese one, tier 6. Basically a Chinese version of the T-34-85. And I have seen a lot of T-34-85s today, so whether people have been going in that to see whether they, you know, they want to really pay for a premium version of it, I don't know. But I've not had long with this tank myself. I've only had it for well, I've only had a couple of 3 hours in it, I think, if that. But with me having the T-34-88, it's obviously very similar. I did have to make a couple of allowances at first, obviously for the increased rate of fire, lower damage. Didn't have a very good first couple of rounds, because you have to just not, you know, you don't have to play it completely differently to the T-34-88, but you do have to play it slightly differently. Obviously in the T-34-88, with it having the higher alpha damage, if there's a tank that you think, you know, you can one-shot it, that happened to me earlier. I thought, oh, I can one-shot that tank, went out, bang, why is it still alive? Oh, yes, of course, I've got lower damage now. So yeah, that was a bit of a pain. I did take a hit for my trouble. But all that's left now on this team is the M6 over here, and although, like I said, this is my wife driving there, she took a bit of a hit, but it's got the manoeuvrability to get around it, and the terrain resistances, they do, like I say, go towards making up for that lack in horsepower. But it's not a sluggish tank by any means, and I think that the whole traverse more than makes up for the lack of horsepower, because obviously if you've got a smaller engine, your tank's going to be slower turning, but the increase in hull traverse more than makes up for that, I think. But not a bad round, 3 kills, 1500 damage, and top of the table. Although there were a few that bounced, a few that missed, and I don't know though, it's a fairly decent gun. I think I've used this gun higher up the tiers actually, so down here it's not bad on a tier 6. In fact, I'm just thinking what it goes up against, and you're looking at things like the Sherman with the sort of 125 pen, 115 damage. So yeah, it's, you know, it's a fairly high pen, high damage gun for the, you know, for a medium tier 6. And that's one of the things that a lot of people like about the T-34-85, and, you know, in turn the Rudy, is that it's, you know, fairly high pen for its tier. It's fairly good damage for its tier when you compare it to some of the other tier 6s, or tier 6 mediums, should I say. Now this one is me driving. It's another tier 6 match. Had a couple of tier 7 games that were a bit average. I don't think I've been in a tier 8 game in it yet, even though it can get into them. But this one, well, I've used this one because it wasn't bad. Starts off alright actually. You know, it's going pretty well, and I do like this tank. And then, well, something quite amusing happened. It did make me laugh. Now I'm on Overlord. As you can see, I've come more or less up to the middle of the map. Normally I'd prefer something with better gun depression for here, but this, it's not too bad, and I can still sort of work it up there. And I've just noticed on the map that the team never really spread down onto the beach, and I didn't realise that quite in the match itself. Now I'm going back after that Hellcat. Then I notice a poor M8A1 who just took a very big hit in the side. Oh, I bet he's feeling quite sorry for himself and a little bit sore. Well, he's pulled back. I took another speculative shot to see if I'd get him, but didn't. A bit of a snapshot on the M6, but that one bounced, and I'm going to pull back and try and get some shots into the A43. I think I did get that one confused in yesterday's random destruction. I was thinking of the A44, the tier 7. Oh, didn't manage to pen, but I did manage to track him. And he's straight on, so I've got good clear shots of his hull. But then somebody pops his turret off. And now we're going to pay attention to this M6. We're sort of almost formed a little wolf pack. Me, a couple of other mediums, and the light tank. And that light tank circling the M6. And I popped over. I think it was me that damaged an ammo rack, possibly. And the M6 is keeping moving. It's trying to sort of, well, I don't know, trying to limit the shots that we can put in towards him, but unfortunately it just wasn't quite enough. And then T-34-85 comes around the corner. Managed to get a good hit on him. I'm going towards him for the ram. I do take a hit in return though. Not quite enough to kill him with the ram, but I do finish him off. And that almost looked like... no, it couldn't be an enemy arty. It just looked like I took some damage there when arty hit, but I think that was the T-34-85 possibly got a shell off just before he died. Now, ooh, there's that Hellcat from earlier. And we seem to be doing quite well. We've got a 3-tank lead. It's not going too bad, and I'm going to see if I can chase this Hellcat down. I know he's a lot faster than I am, but hopefully if he decides to turn, I can cut him off. And I do miss firing on the move. Get a bit closer to him. And right behind him, just got to put... oh, yeah, and that's the bit that really surprised me earlier and made me laugh. That was a fantastic shot from the arty. So if you are watching and that was you in the arty, that was a damn good shot. Full pelt, just bang, and had me. And I was really thought I was going to get that Hellcat there, but it turned out that he was actually platooned up with the arty. So yeah, well done. But still, I managed to come top of the table with just over 1,600 damage and a couple of kills. So there you go, T-34-85 Rudy, essentially just T-34-85. But yeah, I do quite like it, but I don't know if I could fork out for something that is just a Tech Tree tank with a slightly smaller engine. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow with another video, so until then, take care out there, and I'll catch you next time. See you later.